Good morning, everybody. It is Create-a-thon Day, our second annual Christmas in July Create-a-thon. My name is Jamie with Creations of Studio 39, and I am the first presenter today. We have 7 different tutorials for you today. I don't know how many you're going to watch. I'm going to be sitting in front of my computer all day watching all the fun projects. I cannot wait. Our theme this year is all about family traditions. And you're going to hear stories from all of the artists about different family traditions and how that ties into the project that we're doing. And in my family tradition, I decided to go with maybe something a little bit more recent than, when I was really young. And it all had to do with a movie that came out in 2003. So it came out 22 years ago. And the only things that you're going to need for my project today, if you saw the supply list, an envelope, a pencil, and a Sharpie. So tell me if you're ready. You probably have those things sitting right around you and you can grab, and even if it's not an envelope, it could just be a piece of paper. You don't even need an envelope. I'm going to show you a font today that I named after being inspired by the movie that came out in 2003. If you saw anything inside of my guide, you probably got some hints. You may have gotten some hints from the little hat that I'm wearing here. The movie is called Elf. I would love to know if you've seen Elf. Tell me if you've seen it. Tell me if you've seen it once. Tell me if you've probably seen it once for every year that it's come out. I have probably watched Elf at least 22 times. This year at Christmas, it'll be 23 times probably. I was trying to remember back. I don't think that I saw it at the theater. It came out in 2003 and my youngest son would have only been 3 at that time. And if you have kids, you know that a 3-year-old probably doesn't do very well at the movies at that age. And my youngest son would have been about 7 at that time. So I don't think that we saw it at the theater. But I don't think that it was that long after that it just became something that we watched every year, multiple times. I can probably recite most of the lines from Elf and use them throughout the year in different situations. We're going to be doing an envelope today, and I'm going to show you a font that I've probably been using for a lot longer than the number of years that Elf came out. I would say this goes all the way back to my scrapbooking days, and that probably started in about 1990. So I've probably been using this font for about 35 years. If you have gotten a card from me, a birthday card, an anniversary card, baby shower, wedding, any kind of card, especially where I can hand deliver it to you, you've probably gotten this font on your card. My family knows this font. They know when they get a gift, if they see the font, that it's from me. It's become a tradition that this font is what I use. And I'm calling this the Swirly Twirly font. I have some Elf questions for you, some trivia questions. I can see a lot of you coming onto the live video, but I can't see any comments yet. So if you can just keep commenting, I will come back to the video and I will, see if you've watched Elf before, how many times you've watched Elf, and let me know if you're going to do this project. If you're going to grab an envelope, piece of paper, a gift bag, whatever it might be, and do this, because there will be a post once I am finished that says post your project, and it will be in my guide, which is guide number 1. And if you complete this font, doing a name on an envelope, on a gift bag, and if you complete it before the 28th by posting your picture in that post, you will be eligible for your name to be drawn for a prize of a $10 Amazon gift card. So on the 28th, we will be drawing a name, each one of the artists will, for a prize of a $10 Amazon gift card. So we are giving away $70 to encourage you to participate and to complete the projects. So with that, tell me if you downloaded the practice letters for the fonts. I gave you an uppercase and a lowercase practice sheet with all of the letters. And I'm going to be choosing a name today to do on my envelope. And I was trying to decide what one I wanted to choose. And I think I am going to choose a name from the Elf movie. If you can go ahead and list for me while I'm turning around my camera here, any of the characters' names from Elf. Go ahead and start listing any of the characters' names. And I'm going to go ahead and swipe and see if maybe that will start the comments from coming up. So let me go ahead and switch my camera, and I'm going to move it to overhead here so you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing with the letters and with the fonts, and I'll see if I need to move it down even a little bit closer. These are the practice sheets. There is an uppercase and a lowercase, and I will just show you if you want to make one of these sheets on your own. Let me see where these little boxes that I put on here, I used graph paper for this, but I know sometimes graph paper is hard to find. You can just create like a little template. I just made this out of like a little piece of cardboard, and it is 1 inch by 1 1/4. So it's just a little bit taller than it is wide. And you can just draw the little boxes to be able to practice. And that's what I wanted to give you these practice sheets for, is to be able to practice. And I'm going to go ahead and set that aside and bring out my envelope. Normally when I do this lettering, because I've been doing this font for 35 years, I just go straight to my Sharpie. And a lot of times I will use this ultra fine point Sharpie, but more often than not, I usually use a thicker, this one's not a Sharpie, but it's a permanent marker, and I use the fine point. So it's just a little bit thicker. This is the one that I'm going to use today to be able to show you. So I am going to just do the lettering. When you are first starting, I would suggest that you practice in pencil, and then you can outline it and, go over it with the Sharpie. One of the reasons that I wanted to give you the practice sheet is I just want you to gain some muscle memory of how to create these letters. You can definitely make them your own. You can definitely add more swirls, more twirly things. You can really make them your own. I can't see all of the names that you've listed, but I will tell you some of the names that I remember from the Elf movie. One is Buddy, right? Because that is the name that was given to Elf when he was a baby, because this was the name on his diaper. It was the name on his diaper, so that was what he was called, was Buddy. And then as I start thinking about other characters, I think of Papa Elf, who is who raised Elf. I think of Walter, who was the dad that lived in New York City. I think of Susan Wells, which was Buddy's or Elf's biological mom, right? I think of Miles Finch. He is one of the funniest characters. I think of the name Francisco, right? Because that's fun to say if you know some of the lines from the movie. I think of Deborah. Do you remember who Deborah is? She is the one who tells Elf how nice he looks when he comes in. He's all in his suit. She's the secretary for his dad. I also think of Leon. He's at the beginning of the movie. He's the snowman at the beginning of the movie. So those are just some of the names. The one name that I left out, which I love this character, and I love her transformation kind of throughout the movie, that she starts off as a very kind of guarded person, but in her heart, she does love Christmas and she does love singing. And Buddy starts to notice that, and her name is Jovi. And Jovi is who I decided to go ahead and do on my envelope today. And I'm going to use the practice sheets to show you, but definitely download this. It is my free bonus to you inside of guide number 1 is these practice sheets. So here's the J for the uppercase J, and it has definitely a swirly twirly, spiral in there. And all of these letters have a space. They have a space that you'll be able to do all kinds of creative things with those. But for the J, I have done this font enough that I kind of know the spacing. I do not try to get things lined up. However, if you would like to use your pencil and draw kind of a pencil line across there, and if you want to kind of use your little rectangle that you made to kind of space out the letters, you could do that to be able to kind of know, there's the letter right in the middle. It's 5 letters. Then I would have one here and here. So that would be how I know, to start off to the left. I don't typically do that, and I kind of adjust as I go, but that is a way, if you make one of these little templates, that you can kind of get the spacing, and you can use a pencil to kind of do the line. I tend to, I kind of do like wonky letters. I don't try to create them in a straight line because that's too much pressure for me. So let me go ahead while I am kind of showing the letters. And like I said, I'm just going to go with the Sharpie. But usually what I start with is the swirly twirly part. So I kind of go and create the swirl. And you can put as much swirl on that as you want. You can do as much as you want on that. And then a lot of times I will go ahead and do the top part. And you can even put a little swirl, little twirl on that if you want to. And then what I come back and do is the thickness. And I kind of just connect that in to the swirl that I already did. And there's the J. And I'll show you some different ways that you can kind of add to that if you want. Let me go ahead and show you the lowercase. And I will give you a trivia question here. What is the first rule of the elf code? I think it's the code of elf culture. I don't remember exactly what they call it. But what is the first rule of the elf code? The next letter I'm going to do is the O. And again, I kind of do the swirly twirly part, and then I do the thickness. So I will do the O and kind of connect it in there and do the little swirly twirly part. And then I just kind of do a little, like a little parenthesis to do the thickness in there. So each letter has this thickness. And you can imagine, you can add color, you can add pattern, you can do all kinds of things inside these spaces here that you can be creative with when you post your project, your version of this. Now, the V is a little bit different, but I do still start with the swirly twirly part. Okay, did you get the first rule? Treat every day like Christmas. I love that rule. Isn't that a great rule? Treat every day like Christmas. Now, this one's a little bit different because it doesn't have something for us to connect it to. So I usually just kind of draw a line across and then come down. So it makes more of a triangle than these, are like curves. The I is really easy. It is just the triangle and the little swirly on top there. And sometimes I will bump up the letters, so they're not even on a straight line. And you can add as much to that little swirl as you want. I love drawing with a Sharpie, and I really do like the fine point for this one. And then the E, I will go ahead and do the E, but I do leave space right here to do the thickness, to do that space in there. So I will show you, and you can see the spacing. I probably have a little bit more over here than on this side. So I will show you, I kind of start the E where I think that I want to do it and come over enough. And then sometimes I'll just like elongate that a little bit. So then I have about the same space. And I go like that. And that is all there really is to the Swirly Twirly fonts. It is something, sometimes I will just use like this. Sometimes I will do little designs in here. And then sometimes I'm going to show you the little bonus that I add to these just to kind of finish it off. And that is to add little, I don't know, little lines. If you've watched the movie Elf, do you have a favorite line from Elf? I'm not kidding when I just say last night, my husband used one of the lines from Elf, and I'll tell you what one that is. So at the end of this, I just do like a little line there. And all of the rest of the lines inside that one are kind of finished. There's not any lines in here. But then on the V, what I will do, anytime there's a letter where I've drawn a straight line, kind of like that, I kind of do like this little curve. And it just adds like another little curve to my letters. And then I will do that at the end of, well, I have a little gnat in here. And I'll do it at the end of the I in there too. But you can imagine for some of the other letters, the bottom of the H, the bottom of an L, the bottom of the K, the M and the N, all of the little letters that have just like a little end of a line, that's where I'll just do the little kind of line to finish that off at the S there. So when you do your practice letters, you could try that out too and try just adding two. You could do polka dots inside of these shapes. You could get out your Posca markers and you could add to it like that. But this is the Swirly Twirly font. You can do it with any kind of word, any kind of envelope, tag, packaging. I got a bag ready. So I got this one ready for my husband at Christmas. And I did it with a gold. And it was this Sig Wong. I don't know, it's a permanent marker and it has like a chisel tip. So it made it really work well for this. And you can see I added those little lines at the bottoms and like the little lines to just kind of finish those off at the end of all of the letters. I like to have those little finishings on there. So let me go ahead and flip the camera around and I will finish off and tell you a couple last things and I'll give you some more trivia questions. Let me go ahead and flip this around here. And I will set this camera up and move that stand over there because what I want to tell you, move that out of the way there. What I want to tell you is on Monday is my normal live to do a video on my business page, which is Creations of Studio 39. And on Monday, I'm going to show you some other ways to be able to use this font. So on Monday, 10:30 Eastern is when I go live on my business page. You can see inside of my guide all of the information, the link to my business page and all of that. But I wanted to tell you a couple more things about just like trivia questions from Elf and some of my favorite parts that I have probably watched over and over and over again. We've watched the movie, but there are some parts I remember, especially when my boys were younger, we would rewind, right? Remember that, like rewind? And we would watch it over and over again. And one of the parts is when they are in the department store and Elf, who is dressed up as an elf, right? Because he came from the North Pole, he is in the department store and the manager there, the head of the department that is where Santa Claus is and, you know, the North Pole little scene and everything, he's in there and he announces an important announcement, which is at 10 a.m., Santa is coming. So that's what the manager says. And Will Ferrell does such a fun, awesome job of his facial expressions. I will be honest and say there aren't too many movies that I like that Will Ferrell is in, except for Elf. Like 2 or 3 movies. But in Elf, he has such authentic, like funny facial expressions, and that is one of them. And he gets so excited and he says, Santa, I know him. And that scene, there is something so funny about it every single time. I remember rewinding it, watching it with my youngest son just over and over and over again. And that family tradition carried on to when I met my husband, who had never seen Elf. We watch it every single year. I tell everybody about it. And just last night, my husband smiled, and I tried to smile as big as he did, and I can't smile that big. And he said, well, you know, smiling is my favorite. And that's one of the other lines from the movie. There are so many different things about the movie. It's just a fun, just lighthearted, and I love the message about the Christmas spirit. So I have other trivia questions, but I'm going to go ahead and give you some time to get ready for Terry, who is coming up second, and she's going to do such a fun project. I'm going to go get all of my stuff ready for that one, and I hope that I see you back for the second tutorial. I will be watching all of them today, so you'll see me in the comments. And we are just so excited that you're here and excited that you are here supporting all of the artists, but we're most excited to see your projects and to see you complete the projects with your own style and your own creativity. I can't wait to see what you do with your font, how you add into those spaces in there, what kind of twirly, swirly things you add to your letters. I cannot wait. So we're excited that you're here, and have fun watching all the Create-a-thon tutorials today. They will be in guides sometime, you know, in the next 24 hours, so you'll be able to find the replays there if you aren't able to catch all of them. So have fun.